Hi guys, today we are going to learn about oil pastels. Oil pastels are basically really oily crayons. They are pure color pigment mixed in with oil, which makes it really easy to blend and gives you really bright color payoff. In the worksheet in front of you, we have a few different kinds of color schemes we're going to talk about, as well as some actual techniques that we're going to learn as well. We have a warm color scheme, cool color scheme, tints and shades of a color, scumbling, graffito, stippling, and then blending with oil. Some materials you're going to need will obviously be the oil pastels. Your table should have a box of them. They come in all different shapes and sizes. Some of them have wrappers, some don't, and that's totally fine. You may also need a piece of sandpaper. You need a paper towel. You're also going to find some Q-tips and a little bit of baby oil and some cups at your table, and then some old blending sticks and these little wooden skewers that will be used for one of our techniques. So some general tips. Number one, try different layering techniques. Oil pastels look best when you're using different colors with them. Keep paper towels handy to wipe off your oil pastels. All of them are going to have different colors on top. So you can see this guy is really dirty. If you just wipe him off with a paper towel, then you have a nice clean surface to work with. If you don't do this, you definitely run the risk of having different colors going into your project. And then number three, sometimes it helps when you are working on a project to lay a paper towel underneath your hands while you're coloring. This just helps make sure that you're not blending and smudging all of your oil pastels together. So we're going to start off with the warm color scheme. This means you're using just red toned colors. So if we're looking at the color wheel in the front of the room, then we are talking about the left-hand side, the yellows, oranges, and reds, okay? So for this, I am going to go from red, orange to yellow. So I have all of my colors right here, and I'm going to start right over here on this side, and I'm going to lay this down pretty thick. I'm trying to be a little bit neat, and then when I want to go into a new color, I am going to put it right next to the existing color and then overlap a little bit, and then bring it back up into my red. So that gives us a really seamless transition. So it looks something like that. I'm going to continue my orange, and then now I want to bring it into my yellow. So again, I am going to bring my yellow right next to it as well as in between. All right, so it's pretty much blended. If you need a little bit of help, you can use one of these old blending sticks, making sure that whatever color that was on them, you get off with the sandpaper. And this just kind of helps blend together any areas that may have gotten a little streaky. So I'm using circular motions, and I'm just blending in between. And if you need to add any color on top, you can. I'm losing some of my yellow here, so I am going to add that right on top to get that back. A blending stick also helps when you are trying to get into any edges. When we start doing your actual project, you're going to have sharp edges that you're going to want to keep. So use your blending stick to get right up to those edges to keep a nice clean line. Now I'm going to continue on with the cool color scheme. So the cool color scheme is the same concept, but you are now going to use colors on the right-hand side of the color wheel. So for this, I have blue, I have purple, and then I also have this green. You may notice that as you're working with the oil pastels, you're going to have little bits of the oil pastel kind of clump up along your drawing. You want to try and wipe those off as best as you can, because what will happen is when you're blending, sometimes your blending stick will get caught in those, and then you end up having a random color going along in your drawing. So we have our cool colors done. Now we're going to talk about tints and shades. I like to think about tints and shades as like a value scale for color. So you're just going to need one color. So let's say you choose red, and then you're going to need black and white to go along with it. So I'm going to make this my lighter color right here, and then it's going to fade to regular red, and then it's going to go to black. So starting on my black side, I am going to put down the oil pastel, and then as I go towards the white side, I'm just not going to press as hard. Notice I'm still coloring with my lines right next to each other, but I'm pressing less and less and less as you go on so that you barely have anything on this side. No scribbling here. If you scribble, it's still going to be sloppy, so you want to be neat with that. Okay, now I'm going to go to let's do my white first. So I am going to make sure that the white is nice and clean by rubbing it off with a paper towel. And then I'm going to start over here, and I'm going to add the white on top, pressing down pretty hard while I'm doing this, and then continue on until I reach about the middle. So we have a pretty nice gradient going on with the white to the red. I'm going to go back in with a little bit more red over top, just to put in a little bit more. And then now I'm going to go in with my black and put this on pretty heavy at the end, and then less pressure as I get towards that red. Now this isn't done yet. We want to go back in with our red, and we want to layer this on top. This helps the blending a lot, as well as getting a nice clean color shift from one side to the next. From there, you can blend with a blending stick if you would like, again using small circular motions. So this is our tints and shades, taking one color and then adding white and adding black to it. So now that we have our color schemes down, we're going to talk about 4 different ways or 4 different techniques that you can use when you're starting your actual project. Our first one is called scumbling. This is a controlled, scribbled mark to build up value and texture. So I'm going to have a few different colors set aside for this. I have some light versions of a green as well as a yellow and a blue. Okay, so for scumbling, I am going to just make really small, controlled little scribbling marks. The key with scumbling is you need to layer your colors. So I'm going to go to a darker color next and just do the same marks that I did right on top, filling up all that white space. Next, you can add in some white. Oops, that had a little pink in it. That's why you have to wipe off the colors before you use them. Maybe add a little bit of yellow. So you guys get the point. You're just building up those layers until you have a really nice texture going on. Okay, next we're going to talk about graffito. Graffito is when you're overlapping thick layers of different colors and then you're scraping away that top layer in a design. So for this you want contrasting colors. I'm going to use a dark green and then this really bright lime green. First things first, I am going to put a really thick layer of this lime green all over. And then right on top of that, another thick layer of this really dark color. I'm pressing down pretty hard for this. Next, you need this wooden tool. And all you're going to do is you can now carve in whatever designs you like, and you can see that you will have the underlying color showing through, which is pretty neat. And you get a lot of control with this one. Now we're going to be reusing these for each class, so just make sure that you wipe it off, don't throw it away, and then it can be reused. Next is stippling. Stippling is kind of like scumbling, except instead of making little scribble marks, you are going to now make really light dashes. You can also do this in little dots if you like, but it's a little bit easier to just do little dashes like this. And then again, the key is to layer your colors. So I'm going to layer on some orange on top of this red that I just put down, and then layer on some yellow as well. So you're just adding texture there. Play with the different colors that you're putting on top. You could put on some purple, see what happens. Maybe you fade it to a new set of colors. I could take this purple down here and then maybe add some blue on top of this. And then overlap a little bit. It's just all about playing with the different colors and layers and textures that you can get with the oil pastels. So here we have the stippling. Our last technique is blending with actual baby oil. So for this, you're going to need the little cup of baby oil and a clean Q-tip, as well as some different colors. Now the key with blending with oil is you need just a tiny bit of oil on your Q-tip, and you're now going to really lightly lay down your colors. So from here on out, we've really been laying them on really thick. When you are doing this technique, you want to kind of lightly put them on. So you're seeing a lot of that paper coming through. So I'm going to put blue all over on top of this and then layer on some purple. Now you're going to take the tip of your Q-tip, add just a little bit of the baby oil, and you're going to blend it all over just like this. You're going to see that it helps your oil pastels blend together a little bit more, and it gives it more of a muted color. Now this has to dry overnight, and then once it's dry, you can add another layer on top of it to make it a little bit more bold and bright.